Thanks for staying with us here on Channels Television, and you're watching the news at 5. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. President Bola Tinubu has directed the armed forces, the Nigeria Police, the Department of State Services, the DSS, and all relevant security and intelligence agencies to launch a coordinated rescue operation immediately for the victims of the recent mass abduction in Niger State. According to the statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, President Tinubu expressed outrage over the abduction and killing of innocent citizens by criminal elements in the state. It reads, quote, "Those who carried out this cowardly attack on defenseless Nigerians are enemies of peace and enemies of humanity who will not go scot-free. I extend my deepest condolences to the families of those who were killed in this barbaric assault and pray that Almighty God grant them eternal rest and grant their loved ones the fortitude to bear this painful loss." End quote. The President then directed the service chiefs to give him regular briefings on the progress of the rescue operations until all those abducted are truly accounted for. A security investigation is now putting senior officials of the Nigeria Football Federation under scrutiny, following reports of alleged links with foreign interests that could have implications for national security. Now, the Department of State Services, the DSS, and the Nigeria Intelligence Agency are looking into the claims as questions emerge over whether any official may have acted in ways capable of undermining the country's security interests. A security source said the agencies intercepted disturbing communications involving the officials and foreign nationals. The source clarified that the probe is separate from the 17 billion naira intervention fund approved in 2024, noting that financial matters fall under the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, while the DSS and the NIA handle domestic and external security threats, respectively. The investigation comes amid growing criticism of the NFF over alleged funding and administrative failures affecting Nigeria's national football teams. The Super Eagles have missed consecutive FIFA World Cups, while the Super Falcons lost 1-0 to Cameroon in this year's WAFCON quarterfinals, ending their title defense and forcing them into a playoff route for qualification for next year's FIFA Women's World Cup. The NFIU, that's the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, has uncovered an emerging crowdfunding network being used to raise and move money for terrorist activities in Nigeria, including the use of accounts belonging to dead persons. The Financial Intelligence Agency also identified the use of bank accounts registered in women's names and phone numbers linked to third parties as methods employed by terrorist financiers to conceal the movement of illicit funds. The findings were contained in the NFIU's 2025 annual report, which examined emerging trends in terrorist financing, financial fraud, and other financial crimes during the year. Residents of Adiabo Akan Obio in Udukbani local government area of Cross River State have benefited from improved access to potable water and a new venue for community activities following the commissioning of a Nigerian Navy Special Intervention Quick Impact Project. This intervention, undertaken in honor of Rear Admiral Patrick Effa, includes a 50,000-litre water storage tank, an industrial solar-powered borehole, water stations, and a community town hall.
What Market, one of the oldest and busiest commercial centers in Calabar, attracts traders and shoppers from different parts of the city and beyond. Over the years, the market and surrounding areas have faced environmental challenges, including the accumulation of silt and waste in drainage channels, particularly during the rainy season. The blockage of these waterways restricts the flow of water and increases the risk of flooding, while also creating unsanitary conditions for traders and residents. The ongoing desilting exercise is aimed at removing accumulated silt, refuse, and other obstructions from the gutters to restore proper water flow. For the ministry, the Ward Market intervention forms part of broader efforts to improve environmental sanitation and protect communities across Calabar.
Gradually, the traders have converted the road, taking over the entire environment. So we are trying to separate the market from the road. Like we have seen what we are doing here. It has not been desilted for a very long time. You can see it's an eyesore. So I have to mobilize my men to this place. We are trying to see how we can desilt the entire environment so that there will be free flow of water.
The ministry is calling on traders and residents to desist from dumping refuse into gutters, warning that such practices undermine government efforts.
The last meeting we had with the Honorable Commissioner, we agreed that the market leaders will set up a task force and they will place a fine on those who are placing or dumping their waste on the drains. That's one aspect. Then another aspect, we will make sure we produce no dump stands around the market to make sure that they have where to dump their waste at the end of the business day.
Residents also commend the government for the exercise.
And very, very good. Because when you come this place to the evening time, it is so dirty. And I thank God about this job. There are people who appreciate to come and do this place.
As the desilting continues, authorities there are urging residents and traders to take responsibility for the environment, stressing that maintaining clean and functional drainage channels is everyone's responsibility.
Today is Id-el-Maulud, and President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Muslims on this year's celebration, charging them to imbibe the good teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. In a statement released by the presidency, the president said beyond celebrating the birthday of the Holy Prophet, the faithful should use the occasion for introspection, prayer, and learning from the Prophet's exceptional virtues. The statement goes, quote, "The Muslim faithful should make deliberate effort to adhere to the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. There are great lessons of devotion, perseverance, tolerance, humility, and selflessness that we can all learn from the life of the Prophet," end quote. The president urged religious leaders to use the period to pray for the country and to admonish their followers to translate the lessons from the Prophet Muhammad's life in their commitment to the country. President Tinubu also urged those celebrating the Maulud festival to extend a hand of fellowship to the needy and vulnerable in the spirit of the season and pray against the insecurity and other afflictions bedeviling some parts of the country. Now, ahead of Anambra State's 35th anniversary, efforts are intensifying to promote a cleaner, healthier and more prosperous state, with stakeholders pushing for a lasting environmental legacy. As part of the initiative, the state government, through the Ministry of Environment, has partnered with Crystal Garden Estate Community under the Public-Private Community Partnership to launch the Clean Onitsha City Environmental Sanitation Exercise.
As Anambra State inches closer to marking 35 years of its creation, the battle for a cleaner and more resilient environment is taking center stage. Across the state, gullies are swallowing communities, floods are crippling major roads, and blocked drainage channels are turning heavy rainfall into a growing environmental threat. But in Onitsha, a different response is emerging, one driven by government, private organizations, and the community. From the bridgehead axis of Onitsha, the sanitation exercise rolls through adjoining corridors, including Uga Junction and the New Parts Market. Armed with brooms, shovels and clearing equipment, volunteers, environmental officers and residents take on the task, sweeping streets, cutting down overgrown vegetation, evacuating refuse and opening up blocked drainage channels.
We as a corporate body felt that corporate responsibility to our society, that we should support the governor by helping to keep our environment clean.
We at Crystal Garden Estate, we took it upon ourselves to help the government of Anambra State to get this state to where they are supposed to be. And that is what we're doing today, clearing everywhere.
For the partnering community, the exercise goes beyond cleaning streets. Commissioner for Environment, Clem Agui, says the initiative is in line with Governor Chukwuma Soludo's vision of a cleaner, greener and environmentally sustainable state.
We believe that the people who made up this environment are our customers, and if we can give them clean environment, they live healthier and they will progress more and they will be able to invest more in our estates.
I'm happy that Crystal Homes have adopted the environment as part of their CSR, and have really mobilized and put of equipment and human beings to help in the exercise. And I just hope that we'll continue that partnership and relationship in making Anambra clean and healthy. And I'm also encouraging other public spirited individuals and corporations to also adopt environment as a CSR in Anambra State.
The exercise is particularly focused on flood-prone locations, where indiscriminate waste disposal continues to endanger public health, disrupt businesses, and threaten critical infrastructure. And as the One Clean Anambra campaign gains momentum, stakeholders insist that sustained collaboration between government, the private sector, and communities will be crucial, not only to keep the streets clean, but to protect lives, businesses, and infrastructure from the devastating consequences of environmental degradation.
The traditional leadership of Belema community in Akukutoro local government of Rivers State has raised an alarm over what it describes as an attempt to undermine the authority of the community in the collection and administration of benefits accruing from oil and gas exploration activities within its territory. The traditional leadership, led by the king, Ayanate Kyo, explained that the development could create tension and potentially result in a serious breach of law and order if not urgently addressed. Speaking at the press briefing in Port Harcourt, King Kyo warned oil and gas operators working within Belema territory against recognizing or acting on any purported power of attorney presented by individuals claiming to represent the community without the authorization of the recognized traditional leadership, but deal directly with the recognized authority headed by King Kyo.
Any negotiation, agreement, payment, compensation, memorandum of understanding, community development agreement, freedom to operate FTO, royalty arrangement, or other benefits entered into on the strength of the purported power of attorney as it concerns Belema community and its satellite settlements, lands, and environs shall be vigorously challenged through all lawful means. We therefore place all concerned companies and stakeholders, government agencies, and contractors on notice that any dealings affecting Belema community must be conducted only with the lawful leadership and accredited representatives of the King of Belema community or his recognized representatives.
Welcome back after the break on News at 5 and on Business News. Stakeholders and, of course, participants gather in Lagos for the top 50 Nigerian companies of impact. Join us again. Welcome back. Africa's border management is set for a major transformation with greater reliance on digital technology, biometrics and intelligence-led systems while keeping border management human-centered. The Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Kemi Nandap, stated this at the 4-day annual conference of African Borderlands Research Network, Arborn, organized in partnership with Lagos State University and the Nigeria Immigration Service in Lagos.
As Nigeria hosts its first African Borderlands Research Network conference, researchers, scholars, and policymakers are gathering in Lagos to explore connected borderlands, socio-cultural integration, and the role of policy, research, and security in strengthening cross-border cooperation. The conversation moves along with the Controller General of Nigeria Immigration Service, Kemi Nandep, calling for smarter border management.
The border of the future will be more digital. It will be more biometric and intelligence-led, but it must also remain human-centered. Protecting the state without separating communities. Facilitating legitimate movement without compromising security. And using technology without losing sight of the people behind the data. Nigeria is therefore committed to strengthening partnerships in border technology, biometric identity management, cybersecurity, surveillance, intelligence sharing, capacity building, and research.
Delivering the Minister of Interior's address, Senior Advisor to the Minister in Policy Research, Karim Olajoku, calls on Africa to adopt evidence-based approach to border management while ensuring research remains responsive to practical realities.
Building resilient border lines therefore requires us to see border communities not merely as populations to be secured, but as partners in security, peace and development. I equally encourage deeper partnerships among our universities, security agencies, regional institutions, and developing partners. Research must help us anticipate tomorrow's challenges, not merely explain yesterday's problems.
For Lagos State University, the gathering goes beyond hosting an international academic conference. It reflects the university's commitment to generating knowledge that speaks to realities, challenges and aspirations of Nigeria and the African continent.
Our commitment is reflected in the establishment of our Bachelor of Arts program in border and migration studies. The partnership between the university and the institution responsible for managing immigration and migration matters is both symbolic and practical. Research needs practice. Practice needs research, and both need policy.
For Lagos State, we are Nigeria's economic and commercial hub and a major gateway for people, goods, capital, and ideas. Our relationship with neighboring countries is shaped every day by formal and informal, local and international movements. This makes it imperative that we produce the knowledge and human capacity required to manage mobility intelligently.
Through its interdisciplinary approach, ABON continues to promote deeper understanding of border governance, regional integration, and border cooperation in Africa.
The prolonged gridlock along the bypass axis of the Benin-Agbo Road is gradually easing after leaving motorists and commuters stranded for several days. The Minister of Works, Mr. David Umahi, who is inspecting the failed sections of the road, says the federal government will review all ongoing road concessions to address challenges affecting their delivery. The concessionaire, however, attributes the deteriorating condition of the road to adverse weather conditions and heavy traffic along the route. Mr. Umahi inspected the project in the company of the Edo State Governor, Monday Okpebolo.
Here with us, and is willing to also intervene. That we go to Sapele, Benin Road, and the way natives speak. Now, I am very, very disappointed with this concession here. I am very, very disappointed, and I offer apologies. I take full responsibility for the misdeeds and for destruction of public assets. Because I have the bill of quantities here, I have the conditions of contract here. The Ministry of Work does not allow anybody to remove the asphalt here. That is against the policy of the Ministry of Work. I've been here with the governor of the state, And at that time, they started removing the asphalt. We found at it, and we begged them not to remove this. And each time the Minister of Works instructs them, they will say that they are not independent engineers. It's independent engineer that is responsible. But they have been arrested for destruction of public assets. It has nothing to do with concessioning law or anything. And I'm directing all controllers to arrest any contractor or concessionaire that removes asphalt on our road. This road was not like this before we handed it over. Not like this. And then what jargon are you speaking? You are speaking unintelligently, telling us about the traffic is built up. Did you not see the woman very well before you decided? Did you not see the road very well before you decided? You went through everywhere to manipulate the process and got the job. Now they are complaining because you lack technical competence.
Welcome to Business News. So following the approval of about 438 billion naira for road construction, rehabilitation and public-private partnership concessions across the country, a question remains on whether government and the private sector can find the right mix to deliver long-term results. A GMD Capital Bank Corp PLC, Mr. Belema Olojede, was on our business program this morning, and here's what he had to say.
The reality, which is part of the cocktail of problem we have on the table today, is that the government cannot finance our road infrastructure. At least not all of them. Of course, government must take a big bite, but it is not enough. You can imagine the reality that we must fix old roads, but apart from fixing old roads, we must also construct new ones. Where is the money? So the public-private partnership brings to the table not only the private sector management capacity, it also brings capital to the table. And the financing part and management can be handed over to private sector under a well-structured, because you know where we fail most of the time, it's not in the fanciful ideas or great ideas, let me say, it's when it comes to implementing those ideas. We're not deliberate about how maintenance will be done on those existing roads.
And with that, we draw the curtain on the news at 5 at this time. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. The World Today is up next.